Hello guys and gaiets, and welcome to a video tutorial on how to make your own logo. This tutorial will be for anyone who wants to create their own logo for their channel or for any other needs. So without any further ado, let's get started. Alright guys and gaiettes, what you're going to need for this tutorial is Blender, a free program that will allow you to make 3D renders. It's going to be extremely helpful as we're going to make our 3D logos. And any sort of web browser, I'm just going to be using Simple Web. Alright guys, so the first thing you're going to want to do is open up your web browser and type in the URL box www.dafont.com. Now dafont.com is a wonderful place for you to find fonts for any of your needs really, but we're going to be using it for the main font of our logo. So pretty much look around here and find whatever you want your font to look like for your logo. Now one thing you want to keep in mind is stay away from any of the fonts that have intricate circles or twirls like this, and make sure it's sort of bold. So anything that's thin or has curls like this, you're going to want to stay away from, at least for this tutorial. You can use it for a whole bunch of things though. Alright guys, so I found a font that will suit my logo making needs perfectly. It's nice and bold, it's got no intricate circles or twirls in it, and it's got many different variations, but the one I'm going to go with is just the plain basic one here at the top. Now if you go over here, there should be a download button for the font that you want, and you're going to want to click that. And it'll ask you if you want to open or save it, or if you're in Google Chrome it'll go down here, and either way you're going to want to save it. And you're going to want to save it somewhere accessible, like my desktop. So you're going to want to do that, and it's going to be a zip folder. So once you save it to your desktop, it should complete in a matter of seconds because it's not that big of a file. And if you're in Google Chrome, again, it'll download right here, and you can just click it like we are going to right now. So find it in your desktop or wherever you saved it for that matter. It doesn't have to be your desktop, just somewhere accessible where you can get to it. Find it and double click it. Now it's going to open with the contents of the zip folder, and you're going to want to find whatever font you had. In this case, it was a font pack. You see how it has a whole bunch of fonts within it. I'm just going to find the top one. It's just Prowler. And I'm going to find that font file. It is right here. And I'm going to find that, and I'm going to double click it. Now it's going to open up with this window, and basically what it's saying is that, do you want to install this font onto your computer? And you're going to click install, and that's going to make it usable in any program. Now for this case, we're not going to be selecting it from a list of fonts, we're going to be directing it to this actual file. So yet again, drag this out to somewhere accessible. I'm going to be dragging it to my desktop, and we're going to keep those two files right there. The only reason why we double clicked it and clicked install is in case you want to use it for any other programs. But for Blender and making it into a logo, we're just going to need this file. Alright, so now you can close that zip file and your web browser. Now once you have your font file and your zip file over here, you're going to want to drag it somewhere where you can get to it and find it later. I'm just going to keep it on my desktop to keep everything simple and organized. And you're going to want to open up Blender. Now this might take a while to load depending on your computer setup, but for me it shouldn't take too long. Now basically what we're going to be doing, and I think I just opened up two, what we're going to be doing is we're going to find the font file, and we're going to create some 3D text, and we're going to play around with it to our liking. Now it's going to open up and it's going to say Blender whatever. You're just going to click outside of this box, and you're going to be presented with the default configuration. Mine may look a little bit different, but it's no different whatsoever. What you're going to have is a camera, and if you click 0 on your number pad, it will put you directly through the camera's view. So if you have a number pad on your keyboard, it's going to be a huge advantage. If you hit 1, it's going to go to front view, 3 side view, 8 top view, 7 top view actually, sorry, and 0 is the camera view. So pretty much what you're going to do here is just go to your front view and just kind of move around. You can use your middle mouse button to kind of pan around and see your 3D location. and you're going to want to hit 1 on your numpad to go into front view. So right now you can see your camera, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but right here there is a red axis and a blue axis, and right in the middle here that is the origin. I don't know if you can see that, and there's also a red one which represents the z-axis, but that's not too important. So we're going to click 1 again, and we're just going to kind of click right here on the middle axis where the red line and the blue line meet. And we're going to go up here to add mesh and add text. And that's going to add some text. If you can drag your middle mouse button, you can see that there's clearly some text right there. So now, with the text selected, you select with the right mouse button. It's kind of counterintuitive. You're going to want to click it with your left mouse button, but that only moves this thing. If you click it with your right mouse button, however, it will outline. And to deselect it, you can hit A on your keyboard. If you want to know more about Blender and the application, you can go and search up any sort of basic Blender tutorials if you're having any sort of confusion during this step. Now what you're going to want to do is right click it and hit tab. Now here's where you're going to want to input the text that you want your logo to say. Mine, for demonstration purposes, is going to say the guide eye. My channel name. Now you can hit G on your keyboard to move it around, S to scale it, and you can also hit R to rotate it. Now this may seem a little bit confusing and disorienting at first, I know I was. So just right click to undo any of those changes that you did. Hit 1 on your number pad and notice how it is still selected. If it is not, make sure you can see it and select it again. Now hit 1 on your number pad, rearrange it so it's kind of centered on the red and blue axis, or the X and Z axis, and hit R, X, 90, and just hit a negative if it's upside down. If I keep hitting hyphen or negative or dash, whichever one it is on your keyboard, mine's a negative, or it doesn't matter, they're all the same symbol. If you hit negative, it will flip which way you're rotating it 90 degrees. So just to recap, we're hitting R to rotate, X to rotate on the X axis. You notice if we move our thing, it's rotating on only the X axis, the red one. And if we hit 90, it's moving it exactly 90 degrees. So if we left click, it'll save the changes. And if we go into our camera view by hitting numpad 0 on the keyboard, we can see that we have our text clearly in the camera view. Now you just want to resize it so it fits the camera screen using S on your keyboard and trying to make it fit. Now over here, you're going to have your window, your properties window. It might not be right there for you because I have a custom layout, but you can easily get to it by going to any one of these panels, and hitting the little icon in the darker gray circle, and it'll bring up list, and you can hit properties. So I can do it down here, I can do it wherever. Just find an independent little box, not this main one right here. See, if I change it to properties view right here, it will take away my viewport, and I don't want that because I want to see what I'm doing. Oh boy, now I did something. Hold on. Well. Oh, my bad. Okay, we're back to normal. Alright, so just find an open window and go to the properties selection, and I'll bring up your properties window. Now, you're going to see a whole bunch of confusing stuff, just ignore it, and up here at the top, click on the F for font data. Now you're going to have a whole bunch of lists. What you're looking for is the font tab. Alright, and you're going to want to go over here to regular, and then click that. Here's where you're going to want to find the font that you downloaded and moved to your desktop or any other place that you thought was accessible earlier on in the video. As you can see here, there is my prowler.tff, which is our font file. As you can see, it is clearly on our desktop right here. So I'm just locating where I put it earlier. Alright, and we're just going to want to double click that. As you can see, our text automatically updated to our font. So now I can just resize it to fit again. And there we go. Now you may be wondering, this is completely pointless because it's not even 3D yet. Now, to fix that, you're going to want to go over here to Geometry tab in the Font Properties window. Properties and then the Font tab. If you go to Geometry right here, you can go to Extrude, and you can extrude it out to your liking. I think this is a little too extreme of a change between intervals, so I'm just going to type it in manually instead of dragging, and go to about 0.1. Now this may look a little bit confusing at first. You can't really differentiate where the extrude is and where the font face is and stuff. It may not look satisfactory, but just kind of deal with it and move it and resize it. And then what you're going to want to do is fiddle around with these. Bevel will make the edges kind of rounded, and resolution will determine how smooth the edges are going to be. As you can see, as I move the resolution up, it gets more bubbly. As I move it down, it gets kind of more chiseled, if you want to say. I'm not sure if that's the correct word, but that's what I'm going to use. So just kind of adjust it to your liking. I think that looks nice. And just make sure it fits all within the camera view. And then we're going to want to go over here to the Material tab over here in the Properties window. If we click that, it'll be brought to this window, and you're going to want to click to make a new material. Now it's going to show up. It's going to show you a quick preview of what the material will look like. We're going to be focusing mainly on the diffuse property. Here's where you're going to choose your color of your text. I would suggest dragging it all the way up so it's as bright as can be. This is where it's going to be dark, but we're going to want it to be bright. If you want to choose black, you're going to drag it all the way down. I would not suggest that, however, because you won't be able to differentiate the shadows and stuff like that. So I'm just going to make it a nice rich blue here, and I can kind of adjust how rich it is. And then specular is the only other thing we're kind of going to be dealing with. Don't mess around it too much if you don't know what it does, but basically what it does is it controls the shine of a light on your text. So I'm just going to bump that all the way up because it's usually pretty scarce. Also be free to bump up the intensity to kind of determine how bright your text color is going to be. So that's a nice baby blue right there. I'm going to keep that. And I'm just going to make my kind of glow or kind of shine, light shine, kind of be like kind of a light blue right here. And I'm going to kind of make that a light blue. Alright, so now we've made a color for it, and we've beveled it and made all sorts of nice effects on it. We're then going to want to go to World. It's going to be the little World tab. It looks like the little Earth button. I'm going to want to click that. We're still in the Properties view. Just keep that in mind if you can't find that tab. And we're going to make the background color deep black, and that's really going to help us when we start to use the actual logo later on. So you're going to want to find ambient occlusion, environment lighting, and indirect lighting. All of these will help you a lot. Environment lighting pretty much creates an environmental light, so we don't need to create any lamps or anything in our scene. So we're just going to bump that to 1, and you can adjust it later depending on how bright you want your text to be, if it's going to be washed out, or you need to lower it down later. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to hit F12 on our keyboard, and it's going to quick render it. So as you can see right here, it's rendering our text. This may take a while depending on your computer. If you have a good computer or a bad computer, or a mediocre computer, it'll take different times. So as you can see, that looks pretty dang snazzy right here. It looks pretty snazzy. Now yours might not come out looking as snazzy as this. In that case, you're going to want to check your render settings. Now I'm not going to go into this too in depth because there are tons of tutorials on this online. So basically I'm just going to go over the main things. 1920 by 1080 is going to be the resolution. X 1920, Y 1080. You're going to want to go down and make sure that your aspect ratio is 1:1. And you're going to want to make sure that your this slider right here with the percent right below the X and Y resolution dimensions, you're going to want to set that all the way to 100. So so it's going to get the full resolution, the detailed picture that you want. You're going to want to go down to here to anti-aliasing, expand that if it's not already, check that little box, hit 8, and Mitchell Netravali. Never had to pronounce that before, but I use it all the time, so I did my best. You're going to want to click render. No, you're not. Sorry. Just go down to output, expand that if it's not already, and this is where your file is going to go when you hit F12. So you're going to want to find a place, yet again, I'm going to pick my desktop, that you can access later. And I'm just going to name this logo. Alright, now you've done that, you can click accept, and as you can see when you scroll down here, it's going to output to my desktop and logo. Alright, just make sure it's set to PNG in this little drop down, and RGBA. That's very important that you hit RGBA and not RGB or black and white. Hit RGBA. Compression, that's your personal preference. If you want it to be a small file, put it all the way up to 100. If you want it to be a big file, put it to 0. I suggest 100, just makes life simple. Alright, now you've done that, you can hit F12 on your keyboard again, and yours should come looking like a really smooth picture like mine is right now. Alright, now that's done, we pretty much have our logo. As you can see, it's nice and smooth. Now you can't see the 3D part of it because the 3D part is black. You can see a little bit right there, but for the most part the background's black and the 3D part is black, so you can't really see it on this background. But since we hit RGBA in the render output, it does have transparency all behind it, so everything that's black here, besides the extruded part of your text, it will be transparent, and you can put it anywhere. So, now that you rendered it, just make sure it's on your desktop before quitting Blender. Actually, mine didn't look like it came out. In that case, I'm glad I checked. You're going to want to hit F12 again, just to render it again. Alright, it should render. And once it's completely done, make sure it's completely done before you do this. Just wait for it to finish. Okay, now that's done. You're going to want to go down here to Image and Save as Image, where you can hit F3, depending on your preference. Once you hit that, find your desktop again, or somewhere else where you can access your logo, because this is going to be your final logo, and you're going to want to type in the name of it. I'm just going to pick logo, if I can type correctly. Alright, and click Save as Image. Alright, now that you've done this, you've completely set up your logo, and this process is completely resettable. You can highlight this and change the font if you're not happy with it later. As you can see, I can just hit that again and change it if I want. But I like how this came out. I think it came out really good. If you want to save this project, just hit Ctrl S and save it somewhere. It'll save as a Blender file so you can open up later and change it to your liking. For me, I'm just going to close it. I felt like it came out pretty good. And now we can open up this in any sort of image viewing software. So as you can see, we've got our image here, and we can put this into any sort of program we want to use it in. You can use it in thumbnails, logos, intros. It is a logo, that's not what I meant. You can use it in your intro, you can use it in your outro, you can use it in your profile picture, pretty much anywhere that you can import a photo. You can now use your newly made logo. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this helped you a lot. This is how I made my logo, just with the Minecraft font, and I edited it a little bit in Photoshop to kind of give it textures and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. I really enjoyed making this tutorial for all you guys. Hopefully it helped you. Leave a comment or question in the comment section below if you had any troubles or anything like that, or you just want to ask me a question. Other than that, make sure to check out my other tutorials, and I put out daily videos on my YouTube channel, gaming and Minecraft and Tekkit and modded survival and a whole bunch of other stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Peace out. with the contents of the zip folder, and you're gonna want to find whatever font you had. In this case, it was a font pack. You see how it has a whole bunch of fonts within it. I'm just gonna find the top one. It's just Prowler, and I'm gonna find that font file. It is right here, and I'm gonna find that, and I'm going to double click it. Now it's gonna open up with this window, and basically what it's saying is that, do you want to install this font onto your computer? And you're gonna click install, and you want to open or save it, or if you're in Google Chrome, it'll go down here. And either way, you're gonna want to save it, and you're gonna want to save it somewhere accessible, like my desktop. So you're gonna want to do that, and it's gonna be a zip folder. So once you save it to your desktop, it should complete in a matter of seconds because it's not that big of a file. And if you're in Google Chrome, again, it'll download right here, and you can just click it like we are going to right now. So find it in your desktop or wherever you saved it, for that matter. It doesn't have to be your desktop, just somewhere accessible where you can get to it. Find it and double click it. Now it's gonna open. Stay away from any of the fonts that have intricate circles or twirls like this, and make sure it's sort of bold. So anything that's thin or has curls like this, you're gonna want to stay away from, at least for this tutorial. You can use it for a whole bunch of things though. Alright guys, so I found a font that will suit my logo making needs perfectly. It's nice and bold, it's got no intricate circles or twirls in it, and it's got many different variations, but the one I'm gonna go with is just the plain basic one here at the top. Now if you go over here, there should be a download button for the font that you want, and you're gonna want to click that. And it'll ask you if to make 3D renders. It's going to be extremely helpful as we're going to make our 3D logos. And any sort of web browser, I'm just going to be using Simple Web. Alright guys, so the first thing you're going to want to do is open up your web browser and type in the URL box www.dafont.com. Now dafont.com is a wonderful place for you to find fonts for any of your needs really. But we're going to be using it for the main font of our logo. So pretty much look around here and find whatever you want your font to look like for your logo. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is hello guys and gaiets, and welcome to a video tutorial on how to make your own logo. This tutorial will be for anyone who wants to create their own logo for their channel or for any other needs. So without any further ado, let's get started. Alright guys and gaiettes, what you're going to need for this tutorial is Blender, a free program that will allow you to